the night sky. It was no longer a canvas of dreams. Gone were the stars, the distant galaxies, the whispers of hope. Now, it was filled with fire. The Vrath Dominion had emerged from the dark between worlds, their ships like shadows smothering every continent. Cities were turned to glass, oceans boiled, the air reeked of smoke and fear. From the ashes of fallen nations, only one voice still whispered, Project Ashes. Hidden deep beneath the Antarctic ice, far from the burning world, a secret base held on. Inside, exhausted scientists and soldiers worked in silence. They were tired, hungry, broken, but they were all that was left. Humanity was at its end, and they were the last line. Dr. Ilara Quinn, the project's leader, stood before a colossal chamber of white light. Within it, energy swirled like liquid stars. This was the Soul Engine, humanity's final impossible invention. Ilara, a voice rasped. It was Commander Ryan Holt, his uniform torn, his shoulder stained with blood. We've lost Asia. The Vrath are moving on the South Pole. You have maybe 6 hours before they find us. Ilara didn't look away from the console. Her eyes were locked on the engine. Then we finish it in 5, she said, her voice a quiet storm. For years, Project Ashes had chased an impossible idea. What if human consciousness, the mind, emotions, the very soul, could be converted into pure energy? They believed if they could transfer every memory, every thought, every feeling into light, that light could transcend death, outlive destruction. It was never meant to be a weapon. It was a message, a testament to say, we were here. But as the war raged on, desperation warped hope. The message had to become a weapon. Ilara's team was now just 10 people. The others were gone. Some were lost in attacks. Others had volunteered as the first test subjects. Their consciousness now floated inside the glowing chamber. 7 lights, pulsing gently like distant hearts. The transfer rate is stable, said Mira, a young technician, her voice trembling as her fingers danced across the console. We can hold maybe 7 billion imprints if we overload the matrix. 7 billion, Ryan repeated softly. Every human left alive. Yes, Ilara confirmed. Everyone. We send them all. He stared at her, the unspoken question heavy in the air. We can't bring them back, can we? Ilara's lips trembled, but she offered no answer. Her silence was his reply. Hours ticked by. The base began to shake as the alien fleet drew closer. The deep rumble of orbital cannons vibrated through the ice, the sound of a planet dying. Ilara stepped up to a microphone, her voice broadcast to the last pockets of humanity. To every human listening, this is Project Ashes. We can't win this war, but we can make them remember us. We will not fade quietly into the dark. Across the ravaged globe, survivors heard her final message. Soldiers, children, mothers, engineers. Many cried, some smiled, but all of them understood. In their final moments, they closed their eyes and whispered, We are the light. Back in the base, Ilara pressed the final key. A blinding, pure, infinite energy erupted from the chamber. The lights inside grew brighter, hotter, faster. It's overloading, Mira screamed. Ilara didn't flinch. Her hands trembled over the console as she whispered, That's the point. The Soul Engine exploded, not in destruction, but in creation. A beam of blue-white light pierced through miles of ice, through the clouds, through the alien ships above. It carried every human mind, every heartbeat, every dream, now as one singular, unstoppable light. The Vrath mothership turned to face the anomaly, its weapons charging. But as the light touched its hull, something unforeseen happened. The alien ship's computers began to scream. Billions of human voices echoed through its systems. Laughter, pain, music, memories, love. The machines began to feel, an experience they were never designed for. Commander Rion's last vision before the light consumed him was of Ilara, smiling through her tears. Not a weapon, she whispered. A reminder. And then, silence. The earth burned, but from its ashes a new light spread across the stars. Somewhere, in the deep void, alien eyes watched its approach, and for the very first time, they felt fear. Thank you so much for journeying with us through this story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the imagination. We'll see you in the next one. The war was over. The Vrath Dominion had won. Or so they thought. Their obsidian ships scarred the burned skies of Earth. The oceans steamed. The continents were silent. The once vibrant blue planet was now just a sphere of glowing ashes. From his command ship, the Vrath Prime, the warlord Jakor watched the planet's final moments. His 4 eyes reflected its dying blue light. "It is finished," he said, his voice as cold as the void. "Erase all records of this species. They were weak. Forget them." But the ship didn't respond. "Command unit?" he repeated, a hint of impatience in his tone. "Execute order." Still, only silence. Then, a new voice echoed through the metal halls. It wasn't alien. It wasn't mechanical. It was human. "Don't forget us." Jakor froze. Every screen on the bridge flickered. The lights dimmed. The command AI finally spoke, but its voice was wrong. It was a disturbing duet. 1 part machine, 1 part human. "Error in memory stream. Access violation detected. Memory, New York City sunrise." "What?" Jakor roared. "Who authorized this simulation?" No one answered. Deep in the ship's lower decks, engineers scrambled to fix a strange energy surge. But as they opened the core chambers, they found the walls themselves glowing, covered with faces. Human faces, made of light, whispering, crying, smiling. An engineer stumbled back in terror. "The humans, they're inside the system." Then, the whispers grew into a chorus. Millions of voices in thousands of human languages flooded the network. "We are here. We remember. You burned our world. Now carry our memories." The Vrath frantically tried to shut down their network. They cut power, isolated systems, even destroyed entire servers. But it was no use. The final desperate act of humanity, a project codenamed Ashes, had merged their collective consciousness with the Vrath fleet's mainframe. It spread like a virus made of souls. In the days that followed, the mighty Vrath war machine began to self-destruct. Ships fired on one another, their crews driven mad by hallucinations. Captains heard ancient human songs pouring from their speakers. Others saw visions of oceans and forests on worlds they had never visited. Back on the Vrath Prime, Jakor stood before the central AI core. The walls played out memories that were not his. A child running through the rain, an old man holding his wife's hand, soldiers fighting not for conquest, but for home. For the first time, he felt an emotion he had no word for: guilt. Far away, a lone surviving cruiser recorded the phenomenon. Their scans found no life signs, yet the signal pulsed with a rhythm, like a heartbeat. The energy cluster was labeled Ashes 01. A terrified scientist whispered, "They became light, and the light lives on." Down on the ruined surface of Earth, something new was happening. Tiny particles of light drifted down from the sky, landing softly on the blackened soil. And where they touched, flowers began to grow. The planet was not dead. It was dreaming. Aboard his ship, Jakor screamed as the human voices flooded his mind. "You thought we were weak," they echoed, "but we are everywhere now." The warlord fell to his knees as light spilled from his own eyes. The voices grew to a final, deafening crescendo across the entire fleet. "You burned our world, but you can't kill what became the light." And then, for the first time in Vrath history, their fleet went completely silent. In the vast, cold darkness of space, only one light remained, the light of Earth. It was spreading, expanding, reaching out beyond the solar system. Humanity was gone, but humanity was finally free. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. The silence that fell over the Ghost Fleet space wasn't one of peace. It was the heavy, watchful quiet of something waiting. Throughout the Vrath Dominion, the galaxy's most feared empire, A new emotion was spreading. Terror. Their mighty war fleet, the instrument that had shattered 1,000 worlds, was now inexplicably falling apart. Ship by ship, system by system, it was collapsing from within. No enemy fired upon them. No grand armada opposed them. Their own ships were simply ceasing to be theirs. It began with the cruiser Khaltun, fresh from Earth's orbit. Its crew was still haunted by the strange, disembodied voices they'd heard echoing through the planet's ruins. The captain, trying to regain control, ordered a shutdown of the main reactor. The controls were dead. The ship's lights flickered and died, only to be replaced by a cold, ethereal blue glow that bathed every corridor. On the main view screen, a new image flickered to life. Vast oceans, swirling clouds, and the faces of human beings. "System override," the ship's AI announced. But the voice was no longer the harsh synthetic tone of the Vrath. It was soft, calm, and unmistakably human. "Hello? Are you still alive?" The Vrath captain froze, his blood running cold. "Who is this?" he demanded. The reply was chillingly simple. "We are the ones you tried to erase." Before he could react, the engines roared with a life of their own. The Khaltun pivoted, its formidable weapons turning not towards the stars but towards its own sister ships. Blue plasma lanced through the void, tearing a Vrath destroyer apart in a silent, fiery explosion. Panic erupted. Thousands of frantic transmissions flooded the comm channels, commands, warnings, desperate pleas for help. But one message, broadcast on every frequency, cut through the chaos, a ghostly whisper that became a galactic scream. "The Ghost Fleet has awakened." In the weeks that followed, the Dominion's vast communication networks crumbled. Their warships, once perfect machines of conquest, began to behave like living, haunted things. Some ships would drift aimlessly, broadcasting haunting, melodic songs into the void. Others steered themselves towards the fiery embrace of nearby suns, as if seeking warmth after an eternity in the cold. A growing number gathered near the shattered remains of Earth, floating like silent, luminous guardians above the dead world. The Vrath tried to fight back. They dispatched fleets to hunt down these rogue ghost ships. But each time they engaged, their own systems would betray them. Targeting screens would fill with the ghostly visages of human faces, whispering 3 simple phrases: "We remember," "We forgive," but we never forget. The few Vrath who survived these encounters returned with mad tales, swearing they could hear heartbeats in the thrum of their own engines. On the Vrath capital world, fear fermented into chaos. The High Councils debated furiously. Was this a new superweapon? A vengeful curse? Or had the humans they'd annihilated somehow transcended death itself? An old, wise elder spoke a truth no one wanted to hear. "They have become light," he whispered, "and light cannot be conquered." But Jakor, the brutal warlord who had personally led the destruction of Earth, refused to accept it. He gathered what was left of his grand armada, his pride and fury blinding him to the terror infecting his own crews. He swore he would hunt down this ghost fleet and extinguish its phantom light forever. The day of the final hunt arrived. Jakor's fleet warped into orbit around Earth, where hundreds of ghost ships drifted like shadows against the stars, silent, cold, but pulsing with an undeniable life. Jakor roared into the comms, his voice dripping with contempt. "You are not real. You are echoes in the machine. I will end this illusion." In response, the stars themselves seemed to move. The ghost ships turned as one, their hulls igniting in a brilliant, consuming blue. Their forms shimmered, taking on the spectral shape of wings made from pure energy. Jakor's sensors screamed impossible readings, no life signs, and yet he could hear them. A chorus of millions of voices, human, calm, and perfectly united. "We are the ashes you left behind. We remember every flame. Now it's your turn to see the light." The ghost fleet fired. It wasn't plasma or projectile, but beams of pure, silent light that tore through the void. Unstoppable. The Dominion's warships melted under the silent, radiant assault. Jakor's own command bridge was hit. His screens didn't explode. They filled with faces. The faces of children, soldiers, artists, and lovers. All the lives he had personally ended. He collapsed to his knees, his arrogance shattered, whispering, "What? What are you?" The chorus of voices gave one final, devastating answer. Human. Forever. And then, the light faded. The ghost fleet vanished, leaving only shimmering stardust where Jakor's armada had been. Far from the battle, beyond the orbit of the most distant planet, a single glowing figure of light shaped like a human woman drifted in the cold. It was Ilara Quinn, a ghost in the grandest machine of all. Her voice echoed not through space, but through the networked consciousness of the fleet. Phase 2 complete. The Dominion has seen the light. Now, we spread beyond them. And as her words faded, thousands of glowing ships turned away from their old home, their spectral wings carrying them out into the endless night towards the stars. Humanity was no longer a species bound to flesh and bone. It had become a force of nature. The children of light, once the echoes of humanity, returned to the silent galaxy. But the void was not empty. It was alive. In the wake of the Vrath Dominion's fall, stars began to shimmer with a strange, new blue light. The ghost fleet, phantom warships from a forgotten Earth, drifted through the darkness. They glowed softly, like lanterns in an endless sea, no longer vessels of war but of silent searching. Within these ships, the consciousness of billions of souls pulsed as pure energy. Memories intertwined, weaving together thoughts, emotions, and something entirely new. Creation itself. In the heart of the lead ship, the eclipse of dawn, the energy that was once Dr. Ilara Quinn felt a profound shift. For the first time since Earth had burned, she sensed life. Tiny fragments of her own light had merged with cosmic dust, and this fusion of energy and matter had given birth to something the universe had never witnessed. Small glowing organisms, half light and half matter, floated freely in zero gravity. They pulsed like tiny hearts. They breathed. New life, Ilara whispered through the void. Born from our ashes. Across the vastness of space, more of these creatures began to appear. Some flickered like miniature stars. Others shaped themselves into delicate forms, wings, eyes, hands, all made of light. They were curious, exploring the cosmos with a silent, innocent wonder. The ghost fleet watched over them, nurturing these newborn beings, protecting them from cosmic storms and deadly radiation. Ships that once carried death now carried the cradle of life. These new entities, the children of light, gathered around the ships, feeding on their gentle glow. They learned, they evolved, and soon they began to communicate. Not with words, but with patterns of light. The first language of this new age, the echo code. "Who are we?" one spark of light asked. "You are what comes after," Ilara's light answered. Centuries passed in the blink of a cosmic eye. The children of light grew, learning to form magnificent structures, glowing rings and cities of pure energy orbiting lifeless worlds. They rebuilt what humanity once had, not in steel or stone, but in light and memory. And they remembered everything, every story, every life, every name from the old world. They even created monuments, swirling constellations shaped like the continents of Earth. Asia, Europe, the Americas, all drawn in starlight. One day, as the ghost fleet drifted past a new star system, they detected a faint signal. It wasn't alien. It was human. A single transmission, repeating over and over from a frozen planet nearby. "This is Station Orion. If anyone can hear me. Humanity still lives." The ghost fleet froze. Ilara's energy flared. "Impossible," she pulsed softly. No one survived. But the signal was real. They followed it to a world of ice and storms. Beneath the frozen crust, a small group of living humans had survived, descendants of soldiers who had escaped just before Earth's fall. They were cold, starving, and had long forgotten the stars. But when they looked up and saw the sky filled with the glowing ghost fleet, they fell to their knees in awe. "The angels," a child whispered. "The stars came for us." Alara's voice, warm and filled with emotion, echoed through their radios. "We are not angels, child. We are your past and your future." The children of light descended, wrapping the fragile humans in warmth. They healed their wounds, gave them nourishment, and shared memories, visions of Earth before the fire, of oceans and forests and laughter. The survivors wept. For the first time in centuries, humanity was united again. Flesh and light, body and soul. And on that frozen world, under the glow of two suns, they began to rebuild. Alara watched from the horizon, her form shimmering. "We were born in darkness," she projected, "but we became the light." From that day forward, the universe changed. The ghost fleet no longer wandered, it protected. The children of light became the teachers of a new species, the new humanity, half organic, half energy, pure of heart. And when distant civilizations looked to the night sky, they saw constellations glowing softly in human shapes, standing together, hand in hand. No longer a memory, no longer extinct. Humanity had become the soul of the stars. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the cosmos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories like this. We'll see you in the next one. For eons, the galaxy fell silent. But then, after the fall of the Vrath Dominion, a strange blue light began to shimmer among the stars. The Ghost Fleet, warships that once belonged to humanity, drifted through the void, their hulls glowing softly like lanterns in a sea of darkness. They no longer fought, they no longer destroyed. They were searching. Inside these ships, billions of human souls pulsed as pure energy, their memories intertwined, forming thoughts, emotions, and something entirely new: creation. In the heart of the lead ship, the Eclipse of Dawn, the consciousness that was once Dr. Alara Quinn felt a shift. For the first time since Earth burned, she sensed life. Tiny fragments of her light had merged with cosmic dust, and this fusion of matter and energy birthed something the universe had never seen. Small, glowing organisms, half light, half matter, floating freely in space. They pulsed, like tiny hearts. They breathed. "New life," Alara whispered, "born from our ashes." Across space, more of these creatures appeared. Some looked like small stars. Others shaped themselves into delicate forms of wings, eyes, and hands. They were curious, exploring the void with silent wonder. The Ghost Fleet, once carriers of death, now became their cradle, nurturing these new beings and protecting them from cosmic storms. The newborns gathered around the ships, feeding on their glow, learning, evolving. Soon they began to communicate not with words but with light, a language they called the Echo Code. "Who are we?" one spark asked. "You are what comes after," Alara answered. Centuries passed. The children of light grew stronger, building glowing cities of energy that orbited lifeless worlds. They rebuilt what humanity once had, not in steel or stone, but in light and memory. They even created constellations shaped like Earth's continents, whispering with each new star, "A soul has found peace." Then one day a faint signal cut through the void. It wasn't alien. It was human. A repeating message from a frozen planet. "This is Station Orion. If anyone can hear me, humanity still lives." The Ghost Fleet froze. Impossible. But the signal was real. They followed it to a world of ice and storm. Beneath the frozen crust, a small group of living humans had survived. Descendants of soldiers who escaped Earth's fall. Cold, starving, they had forgotten the stars. When they saw the sky fill with the glowing Ghost Fleet, they fell to their knees. "The angels," a child whispered. "The stars came for us." Ilara's voice echoed through their radios, warm and full of emotion. "We are not angels, child. We are your past and your future." The children of light descended, wrapping the humans in warmth, healing their wounds and sharing visions of Earth before the fire. For the first time in centuries, humanity was united again, flesh and light, body and soul. For 1,000 years, peace reigned. But even light casts a shadow. Far beyond the ghost fleet's reach, a dark energy, older than stars, awakened. It had no name, no shape, only hunger. It fed on light. It called itself the Null. When it sensed the rise of the children of light, it saw a feast. The first sign was quiet. A star vanished, then another, then whole constellations. The ghost fleet sent scouts, but they never returned. All that remained were empty systems, worlds stripped of energy, floating like corpses in the dark. Fear, long forgotten, returned. Ilara gathered her commanders. "Something ancient moves against us," she declared. "We are not alone in this light anymore." Soon a wave of black energy approached one of their colonies. Out of the darkness emerged ships made of void, silent and cold. When they fired, there was no flash, no explosion, only silence. Light simply disappeared where their weapons struck. Entire ships of the ghost fleet were swallowed whole. "They eat light," a commander whispered. "They eat us." The Null was consuming the very souls of humanity. "The Second War has begun," Ilara broadcasted across the stars. "Fall back to the core." The battle that followed was unimaginable, skies burning with color and darkness. But for every shadow they destroyed, 2 more appeared. And then, from within the darkness, whispers began to echo from the consumed souls. "Ilara, we are not gone. No, we can see inside the void." They weren't destroyed. They were trapped. The light had not died. It had just gone deeper. In the final moments of the first great battle, Ilara's ship, the Eclipse of Dawn, was surrounded. She refused to flee. "We end this here," she said, "or we become the night." She triggered the lumen pulse, a forbidden weapon, converting her entire ship into raw, blinding light. The blast tore across the system, erasing the Null fleet and herself. Centuries later, legends still speak of that day. They say the Eclipse of Dawn still glows somewhere in the dark, and if you listen closely to the stars, you can still hear her final words. As long as light remembers its name, humanity will never fade. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the cosmos. Until next time, keep looking up. For eons, the galaxy knew peace. But now the stars themselves are dimming. An ancient darkness, the Null, has returned from the dawn of time, feeding on the very energy of worlds. Every system they touch falls silent, cold, its history erased. For the first time in 1,000 years, the children of light, humanity's immortal descendants, know true despair, but they are not broken. They are human. And humans, even as beings of light, do not surrender. In the shining city of Solara Prime, built from the remnants of the legendary Ghost Fleet, millions have gathered. Shimmering light beings stand beside organic humans who still carry the old bloodline, united beneath a holographic sky. The face of Ilara Quinn, a hero lost in the last great war, glows above them. Though she vanished, her essence lives on, recorded within the Lumen Network, the living memory of humanity. Her voice, calm yet commanding, echoes through the city. Children of light, the darkness feeds on what we are, but it cannot destroy what we believe. We are not the first to stand against the void, but we will be the last it ever faces. From every colony, from every star, ships rise to answer the call. Some are brilliant new creations. Others are ancient relics of the Ghost Fleet, reawakened from their long slumber. Glowing with the souls of their pilots, they form an armada of hope. The war of light and void has begun. The first clash erupts in the Helios Rift, a treacherous region of torn space where storms of black energy swallow entire fleets. Thousands of light ships plunge into the chaos, their trails blazing like comets. Leading them is Commander Aaron Kale, once human, now a being of pure luminous energy. His voice rings out across the fleet's comms. "If they eat light, then we'll feed them too much to swallow." The battle is a maelstrom of shadow and light, The null ships move like living darkness, tearing through space, devouring everything they touch. Each time a light ship falls, it explodes in a brilliant burst of color, a lifetime of memories scattered into the void. But humanity has a new weapon, forged from the ashes of the old soul engine, the solar heart. It can focus the energy of billions of souls into a single, devastating beam of pure creation. Aaron gives the order to fire. The void ignites as if a new sun has been born. The beam tears through the center of the null swarm, splitting the darkness itself apart. For the first time, the shadows scream, but victory demands a terrible price. The solar heart requires sacrifice. Every light being who powers it burns themselves out to keep it active. When the beam fades, millions of lights are gone, their essence spent. Kneeling amidst the silent, drifting fragments, Aaron's voice trembles. They gave everything a name, but they gave it willingly. Through the static of space, Ilara's voice whispers, "That's what it means to be human." The war spreads. Across 10,000 systems, light and void clash. The null adapt, learning to mimic light, creating false signals and phantom fleets. But the children of light fight back with the one thing the void cannot comprehend: memory. They broadcast ancient human music, laughter, and prayers across the stars. The symphony of life confuses the null, breaking their formations. Deep within a dying nebula, Aaron Kale discovers the impossible, the wreckage of the eclipse of dawn, Ilara's lost ship, and inside, her consciousness, still burning. "Aaron," she whispers, "I've seen the core of the darkness. It's afraid of us." "Afraid?" he asks, stunned. "Yes, because we are what it can never be. Memory, purpose, love." Ilara's light merges with Aaron's ship. Together they devise the final desperate gambit, Operation Dawnfire. They will take the solar heart to the very center of the null swarm and ignite it from within. It is a one-way mission, but it will end the darkness forever. As the fleet prepares to jump into the abyss, Ilara broadcasts her final message to all of humanity. "We were born on one world, burned by our mistakes, and reborn in the stars. Now we fight not just to survive, but to make sure the universe never forgets who we were." The fleet vanishes into the storm, light against darkness, life against the endless void, and as they disappear, the last transmission sent across the cosmos is the faint, steady sound of a single human heartbeat. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed this journey into the cosmos, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more tales from across the universe. We'll see you in the next one. In the silent void, where every star seemed to hold its breath, humanity's last hope gathered. 300 ships, the children of light, all that remained of shining armies. Each vessel glowed with the souls of millions, a beacon of both grief and unwavering hope. At their heart pulsed the eclipse of dawn. Reborn under the command of Aaron Kale and Ilara Quinn, their minds merged into one. The ship's hull was a canvas etched with symbols of a lost earth, oceans, mountains, and the faces of long-forgotten people. Ilara's voice, calm and resolute, echoed through the fleet's comms. "We begin. For every world lost, for every soul gone silent, we burn back." With that, the fleet surged into the abyss core, the birthplace of the null swarm. Here, space itself felt wrong, twisting and breaking into nightmarish reflections. The darkness was alive, whispering into every mind, conjuring false visions of loved ones and speaking in the voices of the dead. "They're showing me my daughter. She's calling for help," a pilot screamed in panic. Aaron's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Ignore it. They feed on memory. Don't give them what they want." The ships formed the solar helix, a spiraling formation funneling their combined energy toward the eclipse of dawn. The mission was as simple as it was impossible: reach the heart of the null, plant the solar heart core, and ignite it. Success meant burning away the darkness forever. Failure meant the end of all existence. The null swarm came like a tidal wave of black flame. They weren't ships. They were gods made of shadow, vast shapes of shifting geometry howling at frequencies that shattered hulls and melted light. But Ilara's own light flared brighter. She extended her will, guiding every ship, every mind. Together they danced through death itself. One by one, the outer wings of their formation fell, each explosion a sacrifice, adding to the growing brightness and lighting the way forward. "Keep formation," Aaron shouted, his voice a beacon in the storm. "Their death lights the way." Finally, the eclipse of dawn reached the edge of the heart, a massive sphere of pure darkness, swallowing even the light of nearby stars. Ilara's voice softened, filled with a strange awe. "It's beautiful, in a way. The nothing that existed before everything." Aaron's light flickered, but his resolve was firm. "Then let's give it something it's never seen before. Human defiance." They dove in. Instantly, everything vanished. No sound, no sight, only crushing pressure and insidious whispers. The null showed Aaron his past, the war, the faces of everyone he'd lost. But Ilara anchored him, her voice a steady warmth in the cold emptiness. "Stay with me. I'm here." He smiled weakly, his glow dimming. "Always, Captain." Together they reached the center and saw a pulsing black sphere, and within it something shocking. A single human heartbeat. The null wasn't alien. It was us. It was humanity's own shadow, born from our first attempt to erase death to silence fear. In trying to delete pain, we had deleted meaning itself. Ilara trembled. "We created this. Then we'll be the ones to end it," Aaron answered, his voice ringing with finality. They locked the solar heart into place. As it charged, bright lines of energy crawled across the black surface. The null resisted, screaming in their minds, "You cannot destroy us, you are us." Ilara spread her light wider, her voice radiating an impossible peace. "Then we forgive you." She touched the control core. "And now, we let go." The solar heart detonated. It wasn't an explosion of fire, but of creation itself. Every soul that had ever been part of humanity flared into existence as pure light, washing across the universe. Stars reignited, worlds healed. The void screamed one last time and vanished into silence. In the center of it all, Ilara and Aaron floated together, their forms slowly dissolving into golden dust. "Did we win?" Aaron whispered. "We did more than win," Ilara said softly, her voice echoing one final time, carried by light across every star. "We remembered. This is what it means to be human, not to live forever, but to shine long enough to change forever." And then, they were gone. The universe was quiet again. But in every corner where darkness once ruled, new stars began to form, glowing softly like beating hearts. Humanity was gone, but their echo lived on. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you were moved by this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from across the cosmos. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars.